Hi, I'm Holly from Demonstrator Training here at the Stampin' Up! Home Office, and I'm excited to introduce you to our new Dresden Designs Big Shot die. The Dresden Designs die was designed specifically with quilters in mind, and it is going to make cutting the petals for your Dresden plate quilt blocks so quick and easy, you're going to love it. This die is designed to be used with fabric to help you quickly create quilt block pieces without measuring or manually cutting with scissors, so it's definitely going to save you time. But like any of our big dies, you can also use it with cardstock, designer series paper, or other materials, so those of you who are strictly paper crafters are going to find many uses for these fun petal shapes as well. Now, because using this die with your paper crafting is pretty straightforward, this video is going to focus mainly on creating quilt blocks. But I do have a tip for you paper crafters at the end, so don't go anywhere. For those of you not familiar with the Dresden plate design, let me show you a sample. It's a popular quilting motif that has been around for decades. It uses a cone-shaped petal to create a flower, like you see here. Your finished flower is then appliqued to a quilt square to create a quilt block, and then multiple blocks are sewn together to make a quilt. Now, because of their curved edges, the pieces of a Dresden plate can be difficult and very time-consuming to cut out with scissors or a rotary cutter, so this die is really going to simplify things. The die will cut out two different size petals. The larger one is about 7 5/8 inches long, and it will create a completed pattern that's approximately 17 inches in diameter. And here's a completed large Dresden plate. There's also a smaller petal that's 6 1/16 inches long, and it creates a pattern about 14 inches in diameter, like this sample. Now, like all of our steel ruled dies, you can cut through multiple layers of fabric at a time, and just how many layers will depend on the type of fabric you're using, but you can generally do 6 to 8 layers of cotton at a time. And that means you can cut out all the pieces you need for a completed design with only 1 or 2 runs through the Big Shot, and that's definitely a time saver. Another great thing about our Dresden Designs die is that the 2 different size petals were designed to work together, so you can create a large Dresden plate, a small Dresden plate, or you can mix and match the petals, as I've done here with this sample. Now let me show you how beautifully these 2 petals work together. You can see when I have them stacked on top of each other, that they're the same size here at the bottom. So you'll be able to sew these 2 pieces together, and the centers is still going to form a perfect circle when you're finished. Now see how that curve is still perfect when I open up those 2 pieces sewn together. Now, the Dresden Designs die is designed to allow a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, which is traditional in quilting projects. And once these pieces are sewn together, you'll have an empty space in the middle about 2 inches in diameter that you'll want to cover. Now, both the circles number 2 and the scallop circle number 2 dies have pieces that are perfect for covering the center, and I've used the circle number 2 die on all the samples I've shown you today, and I've adhered the circles using our Big Shot fabric adhesive. Now, here is where you paper crafters need to pay attention. Remember the 1/4 inch seam allowance? That's really important. These pieces were designed to overlap by a 1/4 inch and not just sit next to each other. Now, I have an example here of what happens if you just put the pieces together side by side. You see how that center is huge? And it has kind of a funny shape because of the curves at the bottom of the petal. And that's fine if you want to cover your center with something very large. But if you're wondering why your paper design doesn't look like the quilted designs you've seen, it's because you need to factor in that seam allowance and overlap your petals by a 1/4 inch. Now, here's an example I've done with the petals overlapping. And see what a difference it makes? And then I can just use the 2.5 inch circle punch to cover the center on that one. Now, you can create some beautiful paper projects with the Dresden Designs die, like you see here on this sample. Now, are you excited to start crafting with this fun new die? The Dresden Designs die is available now, so contact your local Stampin' Up! Demonstrator to learn more. Thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you soon.